Hey gang, today I'm going to do a review of this knife. Apparently some excitement about this one. I've had a few people say, hey, looking forward to that review. So here it is. So this is the Kizer V3 Vigor. You might remember me doing a video on the Kizer V3 Vigor before, and you're right, it was on this knife. This is the baby brother. This is the Vanguard line. Kizer has straight up Kizer, which incorporates this knife as well as this Gemini here, as well as this T1 here. Similar motives, lots of titanium, lots of S35VN. Then Kizer also has the Vanguard line, which is lots of VG10, lots of G10. Knives that are sort of like smaller or watered down versions. Well, it's a negative term, but different versions of the bigger knives. And then it's got the, what's the new range? The Tangrams, which are using a 440C variant and sort of still well made, but on the lower end. So the V3 Vigor is a great knife. It's a real delicate competitor for the money that you pay. You'll pay about $80 for this if you're in Australia, probably about 50 or 40 in America. About the same price as the, say, Spyderco Delica. But it's just a bit of a different type of great everyday carry knife, as in, it does all the same tasks, it's just different styling and different functions and locks and whatnot. But it's great value and great materials for the price, all that sort of stuff. Great action, well built, yada, yada, yada. So when I saw this on bladesofoz.com, which is where I got it, I had to have it. I was like, well, that looks like a cool version of this little knife. I didn't realize it was going to be so much bigger. So yeah, I guess the philosophy behind this knife is just a real good, boring old user knife. That's how I kind of see it anyway. Because when I turn it around, black G10, S35VN steel, frame lock, pretty neutral overall design, pretty neutral overall ergonomics. Not going to be anyone's super favorite knife, I would say, but I can't really see how anyone could have a particularly strong hatred for this thing either. So it reminds me, sort of falling into the similar camp as, yes, like the Spyderco Enduras, the Cold Steel Recons, American Lawmans, that sort of thing. So while we're here, let's do some knife comparisons. Let's crank out this full-size blade here. Put that at the bottom. Now we'll put it in the middle, and we'll get out the Kizer Vanguard version, which, as you can see, is a smaller 3-inch blade versus the 3.75-inch blade on the main one. We'll do the Spyderco Delica, because we all know how big a Delica is. We'll do the Lion Steel SR11. Sort of similar class knife size, as you see there. We'll do the, I'll stick normal, we'll do the Kizer T1, a little bit smaller, a bit more geared towards perhaps your standard everyday carry, less of a hard working knife due to its ball bearing construction. What are we? Let's look at some crazy things. So let's look at it next to a We Knives 620. Another sort of big, large, mainly EDC folder, I guess, and about the battiest knife I've got with me at the moment, the Microtech/Strider Death on Contact, which is, it's a bit of a different knife, absolutely. So, let's talk about, what do we talk about? I'll just give you a basic rundown. So as I said, VG10, G10 handles, also available in orange green. You've got a bronze phosphor washer operation, flicks open via thumb stud, no flippers on this one. Titanium frame lock here. You've got a two-way pocket clip. Sorry about the door. You've got a two-way pocket clip. When it's not here, you have this little tab that swaps out there, so stopping it from having like a vacant hole in the frame there, which is a nice little touch. Very Hinderer-esque there. Very cool. You've got sort of a very generic kind of blade shape. The styling is a little bit cool with a secondary grind here. Not quite a compound grind, I wouldn't suggest. Just the hollow grind ends, and then it's just a quick flat grind on the tip for a bit of extra tip strength there. Kizer logo there. Knife details there, including the steel and model and designer, Kim Ning, and on the back is the model number there. So that's your basic black handled G10/titanium S35VN knife. So let's look at the good things about this knife. I'll go I don't want to steal Nick's thing, but I'll just go the good, the stuff, like the average things, and then the stuff that I don't really like too much about it. So good. The thin hollow ground blade is great for slicing. It's robust enough as well because it's got a bit of extra thickness there, but it's a fairly advanced hollow grind. So it's thin, a good sort of 3 3mm up, it's still really, really thin. So it's well done. In the part that you're going to be using for slicing, no worries at all. It's not going to slice like a Spyderco Delica. I'll show you the blade thicknesses compared. It's, you know, it's got about twice the blade thickness of the Delica, but for a bigger working knife, it'll slice just fine for you. The V3 Vigor in VG10, a little bit thinner as well, probably slice a little bit better for you, seeing as it's also a pretty good hollow grind. This one's been heavily used and sharpened. They don't come looking like this. So, good standoff construction, also going in line with the harder use or the everyday use aspect of this blade. You can just blast water, or in my case, I get those dust grabbing wipes and just floss them through these sort of knives from time to time. Gets all the crap out without getting things wet. But if it got really wet and muddy, pretty easy to clean. Bronze phosphor and G10 titanium. Not a lot's going to go wrong over time. Even S35VN's a very, very stain resistant steel as well. So good follow through construction there. Lovely. The bronze phosphor washers and the good detent make a great action, so easy to flip open and close. Once you've oiled it, it'll fall shut pretty well, like it's not too bad. You can shake it shut. Nice sort of more glassy smoothness rather than super free wheeling. Sorry about that, my daughter's just going in and out of the house. I have no idea what she's doing. Rather than this, which is on ball bearings, which has a real sort of floppier or I guess quicker action, so to speak. So yeah, nice sort of smooth, fast, deploys every time once you've got a bit of oil in there. Great action. The lockup, the fit and finish, the general construction, they're all up to Kizer's usual high standards. Kizer have had a couple of boo-boos, misfits, but overall, you can generally count on them to send you something that's going to be put together very well. So they're definitely a notch above like the bargain basement Chinese brands. Even their mid-range stuff is of pretty high caliber. So standard good Kizer fit and finish, absolutely. Now, the last good thing about this, or is really great thing I would say, is the cost. So this is $109 in Australia, 110 bucks. For 110 bucks in Australia, you get this. You get a Spyderco Delica, which is certainly a great knife, but you look at the the elements available and you can see you're getting a great deal. It's one of the best deals I've probably had in a while. So rather than FRN and VG10, you're getting G10 titanium and S35VN for the same price. I guess the only thing you're paying for is Japanese construction versus Chinese construction. So there you go. Very, very good deal for sure. Look, overall, Kizer generally have their fingers on the right pulse with most of the knives. Some of the more artful ones do kick the tickets up a little bit, but this is one of their better valued ones for sure. Really good, honest working knife. It puts it in that price point where you're really not going to be afraid to use, wreck, lose the knife. Well, not really. If you're like a person like me, like a knife enjoyer and enthusiast, you'll take this out and use it with impunity. A bit like, say, you're like a cold steel American lawman or something similar to that. Which I really should have for this review. I must be sure to go and get it. So now the things that I guess I'll talk about, which aren't really good or bad, just things that you should know. I guess it's visually a pretty bland knife, so it doesn't really do much for me in terms of how it looks. If how it looks is your main economy, then I would definitely suggest getting this steampunk masterpiece here and this Wee knife, or this Lion Steel SR11, with its flowing, a very dramatic Italian design, or even from Kizer, get something like the T1, which is just a little kind of jazzier looking titanium on both sides. Nice looking blade there. All that sort of stuff. Very, very neutral looking knife. So it's just a thing to say about it. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. And the pocket clip as well. So the pocket clip, it's so-so. It's not bad, it's not good. It's a little shallower than I'd like. It's good that you can swap it. The main thing is though, I think it's definitely at risk of, if you've got hands that aren't the size of mine, like mine fit the knife like that, and that's fine. The pocket clip sits in the nook between my fingers. If your hands were in a different space when gripping the knife, the pocket clip, I could see quite the lip there, could be a hot spot. It's not for me. I use this for my rope cut test. I probably cut about 470 bits of rope with this over about a half-hour period for yesterday's video, and it's still totally fine. No worries at all. But definitely could see that. Not happening to me, so I'm not going to stick it in the bad. Just something you might want to know. So moving on to the things that I don't like about the knife. The flat out stuff that I don't like is mainly, there's only two things. I don't like this pivot. So it didn't come with a tool to take this down. I don't take knives down really, so I don't really care if everything else is like star-shaped or anything like that. I don't really mind. I mean, we did send the driver with this knife, so that's good. Well, the guy, they sent it to the owner of this knife, so, and who then sent it to me, of course. So that's good, that's fine, whatever. Some people hate it. I don't take my knives apart particularly, so, and if I do, I do it once and that is it. That would be it. This one, I could probably get some kind of, like, could you get a coin there? I don't know. How do you take that apart? It's a round hole, but with, it's like maybe a very loose hex hole, but not quite a hex hole because they are rounded with striations coming off of it. So that's a bit annoying. You can't adjust your pivot. I often adjust the pivots. I don't take my knives down. I do adjust the pivots though, and I do not like that, Kizer. So it would be really nice if you just did like you did with the smaller one and used the Torx. That's a main thing. And another thing, just in terms of visually and also in terms of a bit of use, the sharpening choil is too big. It's not big enough to be a finger choil. It's just huge. It reminds me of that big ugly Benchmade flipper that they made last year, the Proxy. It reminds me of the Proxy. It has this big, dead, ugly area. These don't need to be this big. What's another knife with a forward finger choil? Well, I mean, this T1's different because it's just where the blade starts. Where's it? Oh, here we go. Again, the V3 Vigor, the Vantage version. Just a little choil. That's all you need. Fine for any sort of fixed angle sharpening system. You can stop there. It's absolutely no worries at all. That's just a little bit big, guys, so I would certainly scale that back. You can see how well I do with its grind, though, because it's just very thin behind the edge there. It's kind of, maybe that's just for showing off, I don't know. All right, so overall, you've got a great deal here, for sure. It's a well-made knife by Kizer. It's got S35VN steel. It's got a good G10 handle. It's even got some kind of nice detailing, like this tiger striping here, if that's your thing, on the titanium frame lock. It's a bit neutral looking. In fact, it's very neutral looking. But for $110, when the competing knives are things like, you know, Delicas, which are great, but definitely down a couple of notches material, especially when you compare it to this S35VN, which I know for myself cuts like crazy, because it did cut like crazy for me yesterday, with both the polished and the toothy edges. You're getting a fantastic, fabulous deal, and I think it's definitely something you could pick up and just use with impunity as your actual everyday carry knife, not just like one of your fidget knives for, you know, evenings in on the couch and whatnot. So yeah, I really couldn't say too much negative about it. The two things are just there, the custom hardware, the giant finger choil there, maybe the blandness of the knife, the pocket clip, so-so if you've got different size hands to me and grip the knife a bit differently, but everything else, it's just really good. It's a great design, and I do hope they continue to make it. I heard it had been discontinued, which would be a shame. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye now.